Ambassador Somin sat in her office on Earth, staring at the message that had arrived that morning. The hologram showed the official seal of the Galactic Court. Her hands shook as she read the words again. Humanity was being called to answer. For crimes against galactic peace, the message was short but terrible. The three most powerful alien races in the galaxy had filed charges against all humans. They said humans were too dangerous. They said humans expanded too fast across the stars. They said humans would start a war that would destroy everyone. So Dashmin had been Earth's main diplomat for 20 years. She had talked to many alien species. She had made trade deals and peace agreements, but this was different. This was not about trade or small disputes. This was about whether humans would be allowed to exist as a free people. The door to her office opened. Defense Minister Taeho walked in with a grim face. Behind him came General Hana and Colonel Woojin. They all looked worried. "You got the message too," Taeho said. It was not a question. So Dashmin nodded. The Vorthic Empire, the Quillen Hive, and the Astral Confederation. All three of them together. They want us contained. General Hana sat down. Heavily, she was a tough woman who had fought in the Mars colonies wars 30 years ago. Somin had never seen her look scared before. What exactly are they charging us with? Hana asked. So Dashmin pulled up the full legal document. The words appeared in the air above her desk. Excessive military expansion, dangerous unpredictability, threat to galactic stability. They want to put us under quarantine. Quarantine? Colonel. Woojin spoke for the first time. He was younger than the others, but he understood military strategy better than most. What does that mean exactly? It means they want to trap us in our current space, Taeho answered. No more new colonies. No more exploration. Any human ship that leaves the zone they give us gets destroyed. The room went quiet. Somin looked out her window at the busy streets of New Seoul. People walked by, going about their normal lives. They had no idea that everything might change soon. How many systems do we control now? Somin asked. 47 star systems? Woojin replied quickly. We colonized them all in the last 200 years. The aliens took thousands of years to expand that much. That is their point, Taeho said bitterly. They say we grow too fast. They say it proves we are aggressive. General Hana stood up and walked to the window. Maybe we are aggressive. We do build military bases on every world we settle. We do train our colonists to fight. We do prepare for war. Because we have to, Taeho said firmly. Space is dangerous. There are pirates, hostile aliens, natural disasters. Our people need protection. Try explaining that to the Galactic Court, Somin said. They see our fortress worlds and think we are planning to attack them. She pulled up images of human colonies. Everyone showed the same pattern. Cities built around military compounds. Civilian population trained in basic combat. Weapons factories and shipyards. Even the farming worlds had defensive positions. When is the trial? Hana asked. 3 weeks on Nexus Prime. Somin felt tired just thinking about it. Nexus Prime was neutral ground, far from Earth. The Galactic Court met there to judge disputes between species. What are our chances? Woojin wanted to know. So Dashmin did not answer right away. She had studied galactic law for years. She knew how these trials worked. Not good. The three elder races have huge influence. Most smaller species will vote with them out of fear. Taeho sat down across from her. What do they want exactly? What would satisfy them? Complete containment. All human ships recalled to designated space. All military forces reduced to defensive only. No new colonies ever, and... Somin paused. They want oversight. Alien inspectors on every human world to make sure we follow the rules. That is not life, Hana said angrily. That is prison. It is better than extinction, Somin replied quietly, because that is the alternative they are offering. The four humans sat in silence for a long time. Outside, the sun was setting over Earth's largest city. Soon it would be night, and the stars would appear. Those same stars that humans had reached, for and claimed. Those stars that might soon be forbidden to them. I need to put together a team, So-min finally said. Diplomats, lawyers, scientists, anyone who can help make our case. Take Jun-ho, Taeho suggested. He knows alien cultures better than anyone. And Yoon-ji from the xenobiology department. She can explain why humans behave the way we do. What? About military representation? Hana asked. No. So-min shook her head. No military uniforms in that courtroom. We need to look peaceful, not threatening. Woo-jin laughed bitterly. Peaceful? With 47 fortress worlds? Good luck with that. So-min stood up. She felt the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. In 3 weeks, she would stand before representatives of hundreds of alien species. She would try to convince them that humans deserved freedom. She would try to explain why humans needed to explore and expand and grow, but deep down, she was not sure she could win. The evidence against humanity was strong. Humans did expand. Faster than other species. Humans did build military bases everywhere they went. Humans did prepare for war constantly. The question was whether she could make the aliens understand why. I should start preparing, she said. There is a lot of work to do. The others left her office, but So-min stayed. She looked out at the stars again. Somewhere up there, alien leaders were meeting. They were discussing the human problem. They were deciding humanity's fate. So-min opened her computer and began to write. She wrote about human history, about how humans had always been explorers, about how they had survived ice ages and plagues and wars by never giving up, about how they had reached for the stars because staying still meant dying, but as she wrote, she wondered if any of it would matter. The aliens had already made up their minds. They saw humans as a threat. They wanted humans contained. In 3 weeks, So-min would find out if words could change the galaxy's mind. She would find out if humanity had a future among the stars, or if they would be trapped forever in their small corner of space. The night grew darker outside her window. But So-min kept writing, preparing for the most important speech in human history. A speech that would either save her species or doom them to eternal isolation. Time was running out and the galaxy was watching. The transport ship carrying So-min and her small team dropped out of hyperspace near Nexus Prime. Through the viewing port, So-min saw the massive crystal structure that housed the Galactic Court. It floated in space like a giant diamond, bigger than most cities on Earth. Beside her, diplomat Jun-ho whistled softly. I have seen pictures, but this is incredible. It is designed to impress, said Yoon-ji, the xenobiologist. She was studying readings on her tablet. The crystal grows naturally. The Vorthak shaped it over centuries to create the perfect meeting place. So-min watched as hundreds of ships from different species docked at the crystal structure. Some ships were sleek and metallic like human designs. Others were organic, looking more like living creatures than machines. A few were pure energy, held together by force fields. How many species are represented here? Jun-ho asked. The court records show 847 different species with voting rights, Yoon-ji replied. But not all of them will attend. Many will vote remotely. Their small human transport looked tiny compared to the massive alien vessels around them. So-min felt a knot form in her stomach. 3 humans against the entire galaxy. The docking process took an hour. Human technology was not fully compatible with the crystal structure systems. They had to use manual controls and old-fashioned airlocks. Everything about their arrival seemed to announce that humans did not really belong here. Inside the court, So-min was amazed by the scale. The main chamber was a sphere almost a mile across. Thousands of seats floated at different levels, each designed for a different type of alien body. At the center was a platform where speakers would stand. Look at them all, Jun-ho whispered. Aliens filled most of the seats already. So-min recognized some species from diplomatic meetings, the tall, pale centaurians with their 4 arms. The slug-like gastropods who communicated through color changes. The mechanical synthetics, who had uploaded their consciousness centuries ago, but the three groups that mattered most sat in the places of honor near the central platform. The Vorthek delegation occupied crystal thrones that matched the court structure. They looked like living gemstones, their bodies reflecting light in beautiful patterns. But Somin knew they were harder than diamonds and twice as smart as humans. The Quillen representatives sat in a cluster, their insect-like bodies chittering to each other in rapid clicks and buzzes. They moved as one unit, thinking with a shared mind that connected billions of individuals across their empire. The Astral Confederation members were harder to see. They existed as patterns of pure energy contained in special fields that let them interact with physical matter. Their form shifted constantly, never staying the same shape for long. "The prosecution," Unji said quietly, pointing to the three groups. A court official approached them. "It was a neutral, one of the artificial beings created specifically to run the Galactic Court. They had no allegiance to any species and could not be bribed or threatened." "Ambassador Somin of Earth," the neutral said in perfect human language. "You and your delegation are assigned to Section 7. The trial begins in 1 hour." Somin nodded. "Thank you. May I ask how many species will be voting?" 400. And 12 species have confirmed attendance. 235 more will participate remotely. This is the largest court session in over 1,000 years. The largest session in 1,000 years. All because of humans. So Dashmin and her team made their way to their assigned section. It was much smaller than the areas given to the elder races. Only 3 seats, positioned far from the central platform. Everything about their placement said they were not important. As they sat down, Somin noticed more details about the other attendees. Many species she recognized as friends or trading partners of humanity looked uncomfortable. They avoided eye contact with the human delegation. Fear was stronger than friendship here. "Ambassador Somin," the voice came from behind them. Somin turned to see Veltar, the lead prosecutor from the Vorthek Empire. He was tall and thin, his crystal body reflecting the court's lights like a prism. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. "Veltar," Somin replied politely. "I hope we can have a productive discussion." "There is nothing to discuss," Veltar said coldly. "Your species has shown its true nature. The evidence speaks for itself." He gestured to the massive display screens around the chamber. Images appeared showing human military installations. Fortress worlds with weapons pointed outward. Fleets of warships patrolling the borders of human space. 47 worlds militarized. "In 2 centuries, Veltar continued, no other species in galactic history has shown such aggressive expansion. We expand to explore and learn," Somin replied, "not to conquer." Veltar's crystal body flashed brighter. "Among his people that meant amusement. Tell that to the Kepler station incident. Tell that to the Proxima defense grid. Tell that to your Operation Starwall." Somin felt cold. Those were classified human military operations. How did he know about them? "You seem surprised," Veltar said. "Did you think your communications were secret? The galaxy has been watching humanity for decades. We know about your war plans. We know about your fortress worlds. We know you are preparing to fight us." Before Somin could respond, another voice joined the conversation. It came from a cluster of insect-like beings nearby. "The queen voice Zekai of the Quillen Hive greets the human delegation," one of the insects said. Unlike Veltar, the Quillen spoke through a translator device. "We have analyzed human behavioral patterns. The conclusion is clear. Humans are a warrior species that cannot be trusted." A third presence made itself known. The air near them shimmered, and patterns of light formed into a vaguely humanoid shape. This was Luminos of the Astral Confederation. "Your emotional patterns are chaotic," Luminos said. Its voice sounded like music, but cold music. "Humans feel too strongly. Love, hate, fear, anger. Such emotions make logical decisions impossible. How can the galaxy trust an unstable species with advanced weapons?" Somin found herself surrounded by the 3 prosecutors. Other aliens in nearby seats watched the confrontation with interest. She realized this was not an accident. They were making a show of cornering the human delegation. We have as much right to exist as any other species, So-Min said firmly. Existence. Yes, Veltar agreed, but not expansion. Not freedom to threaten others. The galaxy will vote to contain you. This trial is just a formality. The three aliens moved away, leaving So-Min and her team alone. Around them, hundreds of other species continued to arrive and take their seats. The noise level in the great chamber grew louder. They are very confident, Junho observed. Too confident, Eunji said. That could be a weakness. So-Min was not so sure. She looked around at the massive gathering of alien species. How many of them already feared humanity? How many had been convinced that humans were dangerous? A musical tone rang through the chamber. The trial was about to begin. Remember, So-Min told her companions, we are not just defending ourselves. We are defending the idea that young species deserve a chance to grow. If they contain us, they might do the same to others. The lights in the chamber dimmed. A spotlight fell on the central platform. The most important trial in human history was beginning. So Min took a deep breath and prepared to fight for her species' future. Around her, nearly 1,000 alien representatives settled into their seats to watch. Most of them had already decided that humanity was guilty. Now she had to prove them wrong. The Galactic Court's artificial intelligence, AXIOM, materialized in the center of the Great Chamber. It appeared as a shifting geometric pattern of light and shadow, neither fully solid nor completely energy. Its voice filled the massive space, without echo or distortion. The 4,847th session of the Galactic Court is now in session, AXIOM announced. The matter before us, the coalition of elder races versus humanity. Charges include excessive military expansion, aggressive territorial acquisition, and presenting a clear threat to galactic stability. So-Min felt every eye in the chamber turned toward the human delegation. She kept her face calm, but inside her heart was racing. The prosecution will present its case first, AXIOM continued. Veltar of the Vorthek Empire, you may begin. Veltar rose gracefully from his crystal throne and moved to the central platform. His body caught the chamber's lights and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly to every corner of the vast space. Honored delegates of the galaxy, Veltar began, we gather today to address a threat, unlike any we have faced in recorded history. Not a threat from outside our galaxy, but from within. A species that has grown too fast, expanded too aggressively, and prepared too thoroughly for war. Holographic displays appeared above the platform, showing star maps of human-controlled space. Red dots marked each human colony, growing larger as the timeline moved forward. Observe the pattern, Veltar said. In just 200 standard years, humanity has claimed 47 star systems. The Vorthek Empire took 3,000 years to achieve similar expansion. The Quillen Hive needed 4,000 years. The Astral Confederation expanded over 5 millennia. Murmurs rippled through the alien audience. So-Min could see the impact of Veltar's words on faces throughout the chamber. Fear and concern spread, like ripples in a pond. But speed alone is not the crime, Veltar continued. Observe what humanity builds on every world they claim. The holographic displays changed to show detailed scans of human colonies. Every image told the same story. Military bases at the center of each settlement. Weapons factories, defensive positions. Training grounds where human civilians learn to fight. This is not the pattern of peaceful colonization, Veltar declared. This is the pattern of military conquest. Every human world is a fortress. Every human civilian is a soldier. Every human settlement is a staging ground for war. In the human section, Captain Sung Ho of the Earth Defense Force watched in horror as his own strategic reports appeared in the holographic display. Classified documents that should have been known only to Earth's military leadership were being broadcast to the entire galaxy. How did they get those? Junho whispered so Min did not answer. She was reading the documents floating above them. emergency war plans, defensive strategies, worst-case scenarios for fighting against technologically superior enemies. All of it looked terrible when presented to a hostile audience. These documents, Veltar said, were intercepted from human military communications. They reveal the true nature of human expansion. Note the references to asymmetric warfare tactics and guerrilla resistance protocols. Note the detailed plans for fighting against advanced alien civilizations. Queen Voice Zekai took the platform next. The insect-like alien moved with the precise coordination of her hive mind species. When she spoke, it was through multiple voices speaking in perfect unison. The Quillen hive has observed human behavior for 50 standard years, she began. Our conclusion: humans are incapable of peaceful coexistence. Their emotional instability leads to constant conflict, even among their own species. New images appeared. Historical footage of human wars. Earth's bloody 20th century, the Mars Rebellion, the asteroid mining conflicts. Centuries of human violence played out before the galactic audience. In their brief recorded history, humans have fought over 14,000 distinct military conflicts, Zekai continued. They wage war over territory, resources, ideas, and sometimes for no logical reason at all. Their own planet bears the scars of their destructive nature. Somin closed her eyes. Every word was technically true, but stripped of context. Humans did fight wars, but they also made peace. They destroyed, but they also built. None of that was being shown to the court. Most disturbing of all, Zekai said, is their concept of total war. When threatened, humans do not seek compromise or surrender. They fight until they or their enemy is completely destroyed. They call this determination. We call it madness. The platform shifted to accommodate the Astral Confederation's representative. Luminos appeared as a swirling pattern of energy, beautiful but alien. When it spoke, the words seemed to come from everywhere at once. The Astral Confederation has studied human psychological patterns, Luminos announced. Our findings are deeply troubling. Humans possess an emotional volatility that makes them unpredictable and dangerous. Brain scans appeared in the holographic display, human neural activity during various emotional states. Love, anger, fear, joy, all flashing in wild patterns across the images. Observe the chaos, Luminos said. Human decision-making is influenced by chemical reactions in their primitive brains. They act on impulse rather than logic. They form emotional attachments that override rational thought. They are capable of extreme cruelty and extreme sacrifice, often within moments of each other. The alien audience was murmuring louder now. Somin could see fear in their body language. The prosecution was painting humans as violent, unstable monsters. Most concerning, Luminos continued, is their response to perceived threats. When humans believe they are in danger, they become capable of actions that defy all rational behavior. They will sacrifice their own lives, their own children, their own worlds, rather than accept defeat. Axiom's voice cut through the chamber noise. The prosecution has submitted 47,000 pieces of evidence supporting their claims. The court's analytical systems have processed this information. Preliminary assessment indicates a 94.7% probability that unrestricted human expansion will lead to galactic conflict within 50 standard years. Somin felt the words like a physical blow. Axiom was supposed to be neutral, but even the court's artificial intelligence was predicting human aggression. Veltar returned to the platform for closing remarks. Honored delegates, the evidence is clear. Humanity represents an existential threat to galactic peace. They expand too quickly, militarize too thoroughly, and think too violently. If we do not act now to contain them, we may not get another chance. The crystal alien gestured to the star map still floating above the platform. We propose complete quarantine of human-controlled space. All human vessels must remain within designated boundaries. Any ship attempting to leave the quarantine zone will be destroyed immediately. This is not punishment. This is survival, the chamber erupted in discussion. Hundreds of species began debating among themselves. So-min could hear fragments of conversation in dozens of alien languages. Most of what she understood sounded supportive of the quarantine proposal. "The prosecution rests," Valtar announced. AXIOM's voice filled the chamber again. "The defense will present their case tomorrow. This session is adjourned." As the lights came up and aliens began filing out of the great chamber, So-min sat frozen in her seat. The prosecution had been devastating. They had used humanity's own words and actions against them. They had painted humans as violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. Worst of all, much of what they said was true. "Ambassador," Junho said quietly. "How do we respond to that?" So-min looked around at the emptying chamber. Tomorrow, she would have to stand on that platform and defend her entire species. She would have to explain why humans deserved freedom despite all the evidence against them. "I do not know," she admitted, "but we have to try." Outside the great chamber, alien delegates continued their discussions. The consensus seemed clear. Humanity was too dangerous to be allowed unrestricted freedom. So Min and her team had one night to prepare a defense that could change the galaxy's mind. One night to find words that could save their species. The odds seemed impossible. But humans had always been good at fighting impossible odds. So-min stood on the central platform of the Galactic Court, looking up at nearly 1,000 alien faces. The chamber felt even larger than yesterday, as if the weight of their judgment had expanded the space around her. She had spent the entire night preparing for this moment, and now it was time to speak for all of humanity. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Yesterday you heard many accusations against my species. You saw evidence of our military preparations, our rapid expansion, our history of conflict. Much of what was presented was factually correct, but facts without context can be misleading." She gestured, and new holographic displays appeared above the platform. These showed human achievements rather than human weapons. "This is the medical research station on Kepler 442b, where human scientists develop treatments for the Centaurian bone plague. This is the terraforming project on Volf 359, where humans helped the gastropod colony survive atmospheric failure. This is the Deep Space Rescue Station at Vega, where human crews have saved over 40,000 beings from 17 different species." Historian Duyan had worked all night to compile these examples. So-min hoped they would balance the prosecution's one-sided presentation. "Yes, humans expand quickly," So-min continued, "but we expand to explore, to learn, to help. Every human colony includes research facilities, medical centers, and emergency response teams. We build defenses because space is dangerous, not because we plan conquest." She paused, looking directly at the Vorthek delegation. "The prosecution speaks of our military preparations as if they prove aggressive intent. But consider this. 200 years of expansion, humans have never attacked another species first. Every conflict we have been involved in was defensive or in response to aggression against us." Cultural attached Byung-ho stepped forward to assist with the next part of their presentation. He activated displays showing human art, music, and literature that had spread throughout the galaxy. "Humans do not expand only with weapons and soldiers," So-min said. "We expand with artists and teachers, with musicians and writers. Human creativity has enriched dozens of worlds. Human curiosity has led to scientific discoveries that benefit everyone." The displays showed collaborative projects between humans and other species, joint research stations, cultural exchange programs, mixed crews on exploration vessels. "The prosecution calls us unpredictable and dangerous because of our emotions," So-min continued. "But those same emotions drive us to protect others, to sacrifice for strangers, to risk our lives for causes greater than ourselves." She pulled up footage from the Rigel crisis 3 years ago, when human volunteers had evacuated civilians from a collapsing mining station. The images showed humans carrying alien children to safety, human doctors treating wounded beings they had never seen before, Human engineers staying behind to maintain life support until the last evacuee was safe. 18 humans died in that rescue operation, So-min said quietly. They died saving people who were not their species on a world that was not their home for no reward except knowing they had done the right thing. In the audience, some aliens shifted uncomfortably. The prosecution had not mentioned incidents like this. So-min moved to address the specific charges against humanity. The prosecution claims we militarize every world we settle. This is true, but they fail to mention why. New images appeared: pirate raids on isolated colonies, hostile alien attacks on survey ships, natural disasters that required military-level coordination to survive. Space is not peaceful, So-min declared. Every species that has survived long enough to reach the stars knows this. The difference is that older species had thousands of years to learn these lessons gradually. Humans had to learn them quickly or die. She gestured to the elder race delegations. The Vorthek fought the Void Wars for centuries before achieving stability. The Quillen absorbed dozens of smaller hive minds through conquest. The Astral Confederation destroyed 3 species completely before learning restraint. All of you have violent histories. The only difference is that your violence happened long ago. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. So-min had struck a nerve by reminding everyone that the elder races were not innocent. The prosecution shows you our military plans and calls them proof of aggression, So-min continued. But any competent defense force plans for all possibilities. Human military leaders would be failing in their duty if they did not consider how to defend against superior enemies. She looked directly at Queen Voice Zekai. The Quillen Hive maintains detailed battle plans for fighting every species in the galaxy, including each other. The Vorthek Empire has contingency strategies for dozens of potential conflicts. The Astral Confederation has theoretical weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Why is human preparation different from yours? The insect delegates chittered among themselves but did not respond directly. So-min's presentation continued for 2 hours. She showed examples of human cooperation with other species. She explained the cultural reasons for human expansion. She demonstrated that human colonies were defensive rather than offensive in nature, but she could see in the faces around her that many aliens remained unconvinced. Fear was stronger than evidence. The prosecution had done their work too well. In conclusion, So-min said, I ask you to judge humanity not by your fears of what we might do, but by the evidence of what we have done. We have expanded quickly, yes, but we have harmed no one in that expansion. We have built defenses, yes, but we have used them only to protect ourselves and others. We have prepared for war, yes, but we have chosen peace whenever possible. She paused, looking around the great chamber one final time. Quarantine is not justice. It is fear disguised as law. If you cage humanity for the crime of growing too fast, what species will you cage next? If you punish us for being prepared to defend ourselves, what message does that send to younger species who look to you for guidance? So-min stepped back. From the center of the platform, humanity asks only for the same right granted to every other species in this galaxy, the right to exist freely among the stars. We promise to use that freedom responsibly, as we have always done. The chamber fell silent as So-min returned to her seat. She had said everything she could think of to say. She had presented humanity's best face to the galaxy, but looking around at the alien delegates, she feared it was not enough. Axiom materialized above the platform. The defense has concluded its presentation. We will now hear statements from individual species before proceeding to final arguments. What followed was a parade of alien representatives voicing their positions. Some species spoke in support of humanity, citing positive interactions and beneficial trade relationships. But many more expressed fear and concern, the Andromedans, worried about human expansion toward their space. The Polaris Collective cited security concerns. The Spiral Trade Alliance feared economic disruption. Each negative statement felt like a nail in humanity's coffin. So-min could count the votes in her head, and the numbers were not good. After 6 hours of individual statements, Axiom called for a recess. The court would reconvene tomorrow for final arguments and the vote. As aliens filed out of the chamber, So-min remained in her seat. Junho and Eunji tried to offer encouragement, but she could see the same despair in their eyes that she felt in her heart. They had presented humanity's case as well as they could. They had shown human achievements, human cooperation, human sacrifice. But it did not seem to matter. The galaxy had already decided that humans were too dangerous to be free. Tomorrow would bring the final arguments, and the vote that would determine humanity's future. So-min had one more chance to find words that could change enough minds to save her species. She just had no idea what those words might be. So-min sat in her small quarters aboard the human transport, staring at legal documents that swam before her tired eyes. She had not slept in 36 hours. Tomorrow would bring the final arguments, and she still had no idea how to save her species. Dr. Minna, humanity's chief scientist, had arrived that morning with legal expert Kwang-soo. They had been searching through every galactic law database they could access, looking for precedents or loopholes that might help their case. There has to be something, Minna muttered, scrolling through centuries of legal decisions. Some case where a species was acquitted despite similar charges. Kwang-soo shook his head grimly. I found 3 similar cases in the past 1,000 years. All 3 species were placed under permanent quarantine. One of them died out completely within 500 years. So-min felt cold. Died out? How? Cut. All from resources, unable to expand, genetic bottleneck from limited population, Kwang-soo explained. Quarantine is not just imprisonment. For a young species like humanity, it could be a slow death sentence. The door chimed, and Commander Yujin entered. He was the head of the human embassy's small security detail. His face was grim. Ambassador, I need to brief you on the security situation, he said. My sources among the neutral staff say the elder races have been meeting privately. They are coordinating their final vote count. How bad is it? So-min asked, though she dreaded the answer. Bad. They have confirmed support from at least 400 species. They only need a simple majority of 323 votes to pass the quarantine resolution. So-min closed her eyes. 400 votes out of 647 total. It was worse than she had feared. There is more, Yujin continued reluctantly. Some of the more extreme delegates are pushing for complete isolation rather than quarantine. They want humanity cut off from all galactic communication and trade. They want to pretend we do not exist, Junho said bitterly. He had been quiet most of the day, reviewing cultural files. Worse than that, Yujin replied. Complete isolation would mean any human ship found outside our space would be destroyed without warning. No contact, no negotiations, no mercy. The small room fell silent. So-min looked around at her team. These were some of Earth's best and brightest people, but they all looked defeated. What about the species that spoke for us? She asked. The Centaurians, the Free Traders, the Outer Rim Alliance. They are still committed to voting with us, Minna said. But their combined votes total less than 50, not nearly enough. So-min stood and walked to the small porthole in her quarters. Outside, she could see the massive crystal structure of the Galactic Court. Lights moved through its transparent walls as thousands of aliens prepared for tomorrow's session. There is one more option, she said quietly. The others looked at her with curiosity and concern. I could make a direct appeal to AX-IOM, So-min continued. Challenge the legal basis for quarantine under the Galactic Charter, Kwang-soo frowned. That is incredibly dangerous. If Axiom rules against us, it would make the quarantine legally unassailable. No species could ever challenge it. But if Axiom rules in our favor, it would have to overturn thousands of years of precedent. The artificial intelligence has never ruled against the elder races on a major issue. So Min turned back to her team. What choice do we have? We are going to lose the vote anyway. At least this way we might have a chance. Before anyone could respond, The communication system activated. A message was coming in from Earth. The holographic image of Defense Minister Tejo appeared in the center of the room. He looked exhausted and worried. Double quote, so Dajmin, how are things proceeding? Not well, she admitted. We are facing certain defeat unless something changes dramatically, Tejo nodded grimly. That is what we feared. I have some news that might be relevant to your case, but it is classified at the highest levels. Somin glanced at her team. Everyone in the room had top security clearance. Go ahead, she said. 3 days ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected something unusual. Long-range sensors picked up energy signatures at the edge of the galaxy, signatures that do not match any known technology. Somin felt her heart skip. Unknown aliens? Unknown something, Tejo replied. The signals are moving this direction, but they are still months away from the outer systems. We have been trying to determine if they represent a threat. What? Does this have to do with our trial? Junho asked. Tejo's image flickered as the transmission struggled across interstellar distances. General Hana believes the signals might be connected to some classified human military preparations, projects that were mentioned in the prosecution's evidence. Somin thought back to the documents that had been displayed in court. Operation Starwall, the Proxima Defense Grid, military preparations that had looked aggressive to the galactic audience. Are you saying those projects were not about fighting other galactic species? She asked. I cannot say more over this channel, Tejo replied. But you might want to review the classified annexes to those operations. The real purpose might be relevant to your defense. The transmission ended, leaving So-Min and her team staring at empty air. Classified annexes? Minna said. I thought. We had reviewed all the relevant documents. Kwang-Su was already working on his portable terminal. I have access to some military databases. Let me see what I can find. For the next hour, he worked in silence while the others waited. Outside their porthole, alien ships continued arriving for tomorrow's final session. The galaxy was gathering to judge humanity. Found something, Kwang-Su said finally. His voice was strange, excited but also worried. Operation Starwall has a classified section that was not included in the prosecution's evidence. What does it say? So-Min asked. Kwang-Su looked up from his terminal with wide eyes. It is not about fighting the elder races at all. It is about fighting something else. Something from outside the galaxy. So-Min felt her heart racing. Show me! The documents that appeared on Kwang-Su's screen told a very different story than what had been presented in court. Operation Starwall was not a plan to attack other galactic species. It was a plan to defend the entire galaxy from an external threat. This changes everything, So-Min whispered, but as she read further, she realized the full implications of what she was seeing. If this information was accurate, humanity had been keeping a terrible secret from the rest of the galaxy. A secret that could either save them or damn them completely. Can we present this evidence? Junho asked. It is classified, Yujin pointed out. Revealing it without authorization could be considered treason. So-Min looked around at her team. Tomorrow, she would stand before the Galactic Court for the final time. She would have one last chance to save humanity from quarantine or worse. The question was whether she dared reveal a secret that could change everything. Outside the crystal court glowed with alien lights. Nearly 1,000 species waited to render their judgment on humanity. Most of them had already made up their minds. So Dashmin had to decide whether to play it safe and accept defeat, or take a desperate gamble that could either save her species or destroy them completely. Time was running out, and the future of humanity hung in the balance. The great chamber of the Galactic Court had never felt more intimidating. As So-Min entered for the final session, she could see that even more aliens had arrived overnight. Every seat was filled, and additional viewing platforms had been extended to accommodate the overflow crowd. The trial of humanity had become the most watched court proceeding in galactic history. Axiom materialized above the central platform, its geometric form shifting through patterns of light and shadow. This court is now in session for final arguments. The artificial intelligence announced. The prosecution will present their closing statement first. Veltar rose from his crystal throne with fluid grace. His body caught the chamber's lights and threw brilliant reflections across the walls as he moved to the platform. "Honored delegates," he began, his voice carrying clearly to every corner of the vast space. "For 2 days you have heard evidence of humanity's dangerous nature. You have seen their rapid military expansion. You have witnessed their preparation for galactic war. You have observed their emotional instability and violent tendencies." Holographic displays appeared once again, showing the most damaging evidence against humanity. Military installations, weapons stockpiles, strategic battle plans. "The defense asks you to ignore this evidence," Veltar continued. "They show you human art and music, human rescue operations, human cooperation. But these pleasant distractions cannot hide the fundamental truth. Humanity is a species that expands through force and prepares constantly for war." The crystal alien gestured to the star map floating above the platform. "In 200 years, they have claimed 47 star systems. Every single world is a fortress. Every single colony is a military base. This is not the pattern of a peaceful species." Queen Voice Zekai joined Veltar on the platform, her insect form moving with the precise coordination of the hive mind. "The Quillen analysis is complete," she announced in her multiple voices. "Human expansion will continue at current rates. Within 500 years, they will control 300 star systems. Within 1,000 years, they will rival the Elder races themselves. This cannot be permitted." Luminos of the Astral Confederation materialized next to the other prosecutors, its energy form shifting through beautiful but alien patterns. "The psychological assessment remains unchanged," Luminos declared. "Humans are emotionally unstable and therefore unpredictable. They cannot be trusted with advanced weapons or unrestricted movement. The risk to galactic civilization is too great." Veltar stepped forward for the prosecution's final words. "This court has 2 choices," he said solemnly. "You can act now to contain the human threat while it is still manageable, or you can wait until they become powerful enough to challenge us all. The Vorthek Empire, the Quillen Hive, and the Astral Confederation call for immediate quarantine. Complete isolation of human space. This is not punishment, this is survival." The alien audience erupted in approval. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species showed their support for the quarantine proposal. The sound was overwhelming, a wave of fear and judgment that filled the great chamber. So Dashmin felt the weight of that condemnation pressing down on her. When Axiom called for the defense's closing argument, the chamber fell silent with anticipation. Nearly 1,000 alien faces turned toward her as she rose from her seat. She walked slowly to the central platform, feeling every step this was her last chance. In the next few minutes, she would either find words that could save humanity, or she would witness the end of her species' freedom. As she reached the center of the platform, Somin looked up at the massive audience surrounding her. Fear, suspicion, and judgment stared back from alien eyes. The prosecution had done their work well. The galaxy was ready to cage humanity. "Honored delegates," Somin began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You have heard many accusations against my species. You have seen evidence of our military preparations and rapid expansion. Much of what the prosecution presented is factually accurate." She paused, letting that admission sink in. Several aliens shifted in their seats, surprised by her directness. "But before you render judgment based on fear," Somin continued, "I ask you to consider one simple question. What happens when one of your worlds faces extinction?" The chamber remained silent, but Somin could see confusion on many faces. This was not the desperate plea for mercy they had expected. 3 years ago, the Rigel mining station faced catastrophic failure, Somin said. Structural collapse threatened 8,000 beings from 12 different species. Who responded first to the emergency call? She gestured in holographic. Displays showed human rescue ships racing toward the disaster site. Human vessels arrived within hours, Somin continued. Human engineers worked for 72 hours straight to stabilize the failing structure. Human doctors treated the wounded without regard for species or ability to pay. 18 humans died ensuring that every non-human survivor reached safety. The images showed human rescuers carrying alien children, human medics treating wounded, beings they had never seen before, human engineers staying at their posts as sections of the station collapsed around them. 2 years ago, the Centauran colonies faced extinction from a bone plague that their medicine could not cure, Somin said. Human researchers worked around the clock to develop a treatment. They shared their findings freely with all affected worlds. New images appeared, human scientists collaborating with alien researchers, human medical ships delivering supplies to quarantined worlds, human volunteers working in plague hospitals. Last year, when solar flares threatened the astral research station at Volf 359, who diverted 3 cargo ships to provide emergency shielding materials. When pirate raids hit the outer rim trade routes, who sent patrol ships to restore order. When the gastropod homeworld faced atmospheric failure, who provided the terraforming equipment that saved their civilization. With each question, Somin showed more images, humans helping aliens, humans risking their lives for strangers, humans sacrificing their resources for beings who were not their species. The prosecution speaks of human military preparations as proof of aggressive intent, Somin said. But they failed to mention why those preparations exist. She looked directly at the elder race delegations. You judge us for expanding quickly and building defenses. But you never asked what we are defending against. Somin took a deep breath. What she was about to say would either save humanity or damn them completely. The truth is, honored delegates, that humanity has been keeping a secret from you. A terrible secret that we hoped never to reveal. The chamber was absolutely silent. Now, every being present leaned forward, sensing that something momentous was about to be revealed. So Min reached into her jacket and pulled out a small data storage device. She held it up for all to see. This contains classified information about the real purpose of human military expansion. Information that could change how you view everything you have heard in this trial. She looked around the great chamber one more time. But before I reveal this secret, I want you to understand something about humanity. We are not saints, we are not perfect. We do prepare for war and we do expand aggressively. But everything we do for a reason. Somin inserted the data device into the court's display system. Judge us if you must, she said quietly. But judge us based on the full truth, not just the parts that frighten you. The chamber held its breath as Somin prepared to reveal humanity's greatest secret to the galaxy. The holographic displays above the platform flickered and changed. New images appeared that no alien in the chamber had ever seen before. Deep space telescope data, energy signatures, sensor readings from the very edge of the galaxy. 5 years ago, Somin began, human deep space monitoring stations detected something at the galactic rim, energy patterns that did not match any known technology, signals that suggested massive structures moving through intergalactic space. The aliens in the great chamber stirred uneasily. The data displayed above them showed readings that made no sense according to known physics. We investigated further, Somin continued. What we found changed everything. The display shifted to show long-range telescope images. At first, they looked like ordinary deep space photographs. But as the resolution increased, shapes became visible, massive structures, clearly artificial, moving slowly but inexorably toward the Milky Way galaxy. We call them the Devourers, Somin said quietly. We do not know what species built them or what their true purpose is. But we know what they do. New images appeared. Photographs from the Andromeda Galaxy, taken by human deep space probes. Where vibrant spiral arms should have been, there was only emptiness. Ved space dotted with the wreckage of billions of worlds. 3 million years ago, the Devourers entered Andromeda, Somin explained. Within 500,000 years, every star system in that galaxy was stripped of resources. Every planet was consumed. Every trace of life was eliminated. The chamber was absolutely silent. Thousands of alien beings stared at the images in horror. Now they are coming here, Somin sighed. Our calculations indicate they will reach the outer rim of our galaxy within 18 months. They will begin their consumption process immediately upon arrival. Veltar rose from his crystal throne, his body flashing with angry light. This is impossible. Our own sensors would have detected such a threat. Somin looked directly at him. Your sensors are designed to detect known technologies. The Devourers use energy patterns that do not match anything in your databases. Only humanity's newest deep space arrays were sensitive enough to identify them. She gestured to the prosecutions. Evidence displays. Every military installation you showed this court, every fortress world, every defense grid, they are all pointed in one direction, outward, away from galactic civilization. The holographic displays changed again, showing detailed schematics of human military deployments. For the first time, the pattern was clear. Every human weapon, every defensive position, every strategic plan was oriented toward the galaxy's edge. Operation Starwall is not a plan to attack you, Somin declared. It is a plan to defend you. A plan to create a barrier of fortified worlds between the Devourers and galactic civilization. Queen Voice Zekai chittered rapidly, her multiple voices overlapping. Why did you not inform the galactic community of this threat? Somin's expression grew grim, because we knew how you would react. The same way you are reacting to humanity itself, with fear and paralysis. We calculated that revealing the Devourer threat would cause galactic panic, economic collapse, and political chaos. Billions would die in the resulting disorder before the Devourers even arrived. Luminos materialized closer to the platform, its energy form pulsing with agitation. You decided our fate without consulting us. You appointed yourselves as guardians of the galaxy. We appointed ourselves as the first line of defense, Somin corrected. Every human colony near the galactic rim is a fortress world because it needs to be. Every human civilian learns to fight because they may have to. Every human military unit trains for asymmetric warfare because that is the only way to fight an enemy with overwhelming technological superiority. She pulled up detailed files that Captain Sengho had prepared. Battle plans that looked aggressive when viewed alone, but made terrible sense when seen in context. The scorched earth protocols you cited as evidence of human brutality? They are plans to destroy our own worlds rather than let them fall to the Devourers. We would rather see our colonies burn than have their resources fuel the enemy's advance. The chamber erupted in discussion. Hundreds of species began debating among themselves in dozens of languages. The revelation had shattered every assumption they had made about human intentions. Dr. Shiwu did not die treating a plague outbreak. Somin continued, her voice cutting through the noise. He died testing biological weapons that might slow the Devourers. Captain Insu did not sacrifice his ship for an asteroid collision. He died testing a new type of explosive that could damage Devourer technology. Engineer Biora did not rebuild infrastructure damaged by solar flares. She died installing defensive systems that could withstand Devourer attack patterns. Each revelation hit the alien audience like a physical blow. The heroes they thought they knew had been fighting a secret war all along. For 5 years, humanity has been preparing to face extinction, Somin said. We have built fortress worlds not to threaten you, but to protect you. We have developed new weapons not to conquer you, but to fight for you. We have trained our people for war not because we love violence, but because someone has to stand between you and annihilation. AX Iom's voice filled the chamber. Why reveal this information now? Why not continue the deception? Somin looked up at the artificial intelligence. Because quarantine would doom us all. If you cage humanity in our current space, we cannot complete the defensive preparations. The fortress worlds we need to build will never be constructed. The weapons we need to develop will never be finished. The defensive lines we need to establish will never be formed. She gestured to the star map showing human expansion plans. In 18 months, when the Devourers arrive, they will find a galaxy divided and unprepared. They will sweep aside the elder races as easily as they destroyed Andromeda, and humanity, trapped in quarantine, will be unable to help. The great chamber had never been quieter. Somin could see the impact of her words on faces throughout the audience. Fear was being replaced by something else, understanding, and perhaps for the first time, hope. The choice before you is simple, Somin sighed. You can vote for quarantine based on your fear of what humanity might do to you. Or you can vote for freedom based on what humanity is already doing for you. She looked around the chamber one final time. We are not asking you to trust us because we are perfect. We are asking you to trust us because we are willing to die for you. The question is, will you let us die alone, or will you help us live together? Somin stepped back from the center of the platform. The secret was revealed. The truth was spoken. The fate of the galaxy now rested in the hands of beings who had spent 3 days learning to fear humanity, only to discover that humanity feared. For them, the silence stretched on as nearly 1,000 species tried to process what they had just learned. Everything had changed. The trial was no longer about containing a dangerous species. It was about survival. The great chamber of the Galactic Court exploded into chaos. Thousands of alien voices rose in a cacophony of fear, anger, and confusion. Some species demanded immediate verification of the human claims. Others called for emergency sessions to discuss galactic defense. Still others accused humanity of fabricating the entire threat to avoid quarantine. XIOM's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Order! This court will maintain order. Slowly, the tumult subsided. But the tension in the chamber was thick enough to touch. Somin remained on the central platform, watching as the 3 elder races huddled in urgent discussion. Veltar was the first to break away from the Vorthak delegation. His crystal body pulsed with rapid light patterns as he approached the platform. These claims require verification, he declared. The Vorthak Empire demands access to all human sensor data and deep space monitoring records. Agreed, Somin replied immediately. Dr. Minna has prepared complete files for your review. Queen Voice Zekhai rose from the Quillen section, her insect form moving with agitated precision. If this threat is real, why did humanity not seek galactic cooperation? The combined resources of all species would be more effective than human efforts alone. Somin looked directly at the hive mind representative. Because cooperation requires time we do not have. How long would it take this court to reach consensus on defensive preparations? How many months of debate would precede any action? How many species would refuse to participate out of fear or self-interest? She gestured to the chamber around them. You have spent 3 days deciding whether to cage humanity for building defenses. How long would you spend deciding whether to build those defenses yourselves? Uncomfortable murmurs rippled through the alien audience. Many delegates looked ashamed as they realized the truth in Somin's words. Luminose materialized near the platform, its energy form flickering with uncertainty. The psychological implications are staggering. An entire species living with the knowledge of approaching extinction. How do humans maintain functionality under such stress? The same way we always have, Somin answered. By focusing on what we can control rather than what we cannot. By working towards solutions rather than dwelling on problems. By believing that effort matters even when success is not guaranteed. AXIOM's geometric form shifted above the platform. Analysis of the human data is complete. Cross-referencing with galactic sensor networks confirms the presence of anomalous energy signatures at the galactic rim. Preliminary assessment indicates a 78.3% probability that the threat described by the human delegation is genuine. The chamber fell silent again. A 78.3% probability of galactic extinction. The numbers hung in the air like a death sentence. Recalculating previous assessments based on new data, AXIOM continued. Human military expansion patterns are consistent, with defensive preparation rather than aggressive expansion. Fortress world construction optimized for delaying tactics rather than conquest. Weapon development focused on asymmetric warfare against technologically superior enemies. Veltar's crystal body dimmed. What is the current assessment of human threat level to galactic civilization? Negligible, Axiom replied. Human military. Preparations pose no significant danger to established galactic powers. Revised assessment. Humanity represents the galaxy's best current defense against external threats. The prosecution's case collapsed in that moment. 3 days of careful argument destroyed by a single word from the court's artificial intelligence. Furthermore, AXIOM continued, analysis indicates that quarantine would reduce defensive preparations by 67%. The probability of successful resistance to the external threat would drop from 12.4% to 3.1%. So-Min felt her knees go weak. Even with humanity's preparations, they only had a 12% chance of stopping the Devourers. Without those preparations, the galaxy was doomed. A new voice spoke from the chamber audience. What do you need from us? So-Min looked toward the speaker. It was Ambassador Kethver of the Free Traders, a species that had always maintained good relations with humanity. Time, So-Min replied. Freedom to complete our defensive preparations. And eventually, when the threat becomes undeniable, your support. What kind of support? Asked another voice from the Centauran delegation. So-Min pulled up the classified military projections she had been saving for this moment. The Devourers consume resources to fuel their advance. Every world they take makes them stronger. Our strategy requires creating choke points where they cannot easily advance. Fortress worlds that can delay them while evacuations occur behind the lines. The holographic displays showed the grim mathematics of galactic defense. Hundreds of worlds that would need to be fortified, millions of beings who would need to be relocated, entire species that might need to abandon their homeworlds. Some of your worlds would need to be evacuated, So-Min admitted. Some species would need to relocate entirely. The Outer Rim colonies would likely be lost regardless of our efforts. But the core systems, the heart of galactic civilization, could be saved. The chamber erupted in discussion again, but this time the tone was different. Instead of fear and condemnation, there was urgency and determination. Species began calculating which worlds they could abandon and which they had. To defend the vote, AXIOM announced, all delegates will now cast their decisions on the quarantine proposal. So-Min held her breath as the voting process began. Lights appeared beside each delegation as they made their choices. Green for opposition to quarantine, red for support. The first votes were green. The Free Traders, the Centaurians, the Outer Rim Alliance. Species that had worked closely with humanity, but then the elder races voted. Veltar's crystal form pulsed as he cast the Vorthak vote. Red light appeared beside his delegation. So-Min's heart sank. If the Vorthak Empire still supported quarantine, they might convince enough other species to follow them. But Queen Voice Zekai surprised everyone. The Quillen vote appeared as green. The hive mind had decided that cooperation was more logical. Then isolation. All eyes turned to Luminos of the Astral Confederation. The energy being's form shifted through patterns of light and shadow. As it made its decision. Green with 2 of the 3 elder races opposing quarantine, the smaller species began changing their votes. Red light switched to green throughout. The chamber as fear gave way to pragmatism. The vote is concluded, AXIOM announced. Opposition to quarantine, 421 votes. Support for quarantine, 226 votes. The proposal is rejected. So-Min nearly collapsed with relief. Humanity was free, but as she looked around the chamber, she saw faces that reflected her own understanding. Freedom came with a terrible price. In 18 months, the galaxy would face its greatest test. Species that had never worked together would need to cooperate on an unprecedented scale. Worlds that had known peace for millennia would become battlegrounds. Beings who had never known true fear would face extinction. There is one more matter to address, Axiom said. The formation of a Galactic Defense Council to coordinate resistance efforts. Ambassador Somin, will humanity accept leadership of this council? Somin looked up at the artificial intelligence. Leadership meant responsibility. It meant billions of lives depending on human decisions. It meant carrying the weight of galactic survival. Yes, she said simply. We accept. The great chamber began to empty as delegates rushed to contact their homeworlds with the news. Emergency preparations would begin immediately. The galaxy was finally awakening to the threat that humanity had been fighting alone. As Somin walked back to her team, she felt the weight of what lay ahead. The trial was over, but the real battle was just beginning. Admiral Highsun would receive word within hours. Earth's fortress worlds would continue construction. The weapons that had seemed so threatening in court would become the galaxy's salvation. Humanity had won their freedom by revealing they were willing to die for others. Now they would find out if that willingness was enough to save everyone. The Devourers were coming, but they would not find a divided galaxy waiting for them. They would find species united in defiance, standing together against the dark, and leading them all would be the dangerous, unpredictable, aggressive humans who had never learned how to surrender. So Min looked out at the stars through the crystal quartz transparent walls. Somewhere out there, massive structures moved through the void, carrying death to entire galaxies, but they had not yet met humanity. The galaxy's most feared species was about to become its greatest hope. And perhaps when the final battle was fought and won, the universe would understand what humans had always known. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can be is willing to die for others.